Hello everyone, and welcome to Goron Brothers, where my brothers and I talk about all things Zelda, and some other stuff too. Today, we're going to be talking about Tears of the Kingdom and the Zonai, always a hot topic with Zelda fans these days. With the newest trailer that just dropped, that got our minds cooking up some theories, and obviously, if you've read the title of the video, we're talking about how the Zonai might just be the Interlopers from the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. So let's just dive right into it. First of all, we're going to want to talk about exactly who the Zonai are as we know them so far. Now, frankly, there isn't quite much that we do know about them because all that we know about them is from the Creating a Champion art book and some structural stuff in Breath of the Wild. So to get started, we're going to look at Creating a Champion page 413. And it's described: the history of the Zonai people has been lost to time. There are rumors that they were a savage tribe based in Faerun, where the most substantial of their ruins are located. However, Zonai ruins, or ruins with very similar characteristics, can be found in all parts of Hyrule. In addition to the massive palace in Faerun, the Zonai ruins throughout Hyrule seem to have elements connecting them to the ancient shrines. The Zonai themselves are spoken of in hushed whispers as strong magic wielders who vanished suddenly thousands of years ago. The disappearance of the Zonai is one of Hyrule's greatest mysteries. Or is it? That's what we're going to figure out today. From Breath of the Wild, we know a few things. The Zonai, first of all, were spread across all of Hyrule, but they were centrally focused on the Faerun region, much like how the other races of Hyrule also had central locations. So you had the Gerudo in the Gerudo Desert, the Rito and Tabantha, the Gorons to Death Mountain, and the Sheikah to Kakariko. It appears that the Zonai were just the same. Another thing that we know about the Zonai is that they are actually the ones who built the Great Labyrinths. Now this gives us a little bit more insight into who they actually were and what they actually did and, who they were aligned with, because these labyrinths were trials that were associated with the Sheikah tribe. The Sheikah built shrines in the middle of these labyrinths, and when the hero completes the labyrinths, they are already rewarded for having completed a trial. So it looks like the Sheikah and the Zonai were working together on these. We also know a little bit about them from the armor set that they have. A lot of people don't realize this, but the Barbarian set of armor is from the Zonai. If you read the description of it, it reads, "Armor once favored by an ancient warlike tribe from the Faerun region. The war paint bolsters your fighting spirit and raises your attack power." And we only know of one ancient tribe from the Faerun region, and that is the Zonai. We know a little bit about what they were good at, too. From the Creating a Champion guidebook, like I read earlier, we know that they were strong magic users. Moving on to the second point, where we actually talk about the new trailer. Thanks to Mr. Aonuma, we now know a lot more about the Zonai, and I'm not sure if he ever really intended that to be. See, before Mr. Aonuma did his playthrough, that 10-minute playthrough that he did, we only really had theories on whether or not the Zonai were involved in Tears of the Kingdom at all. After his gameplay footage, though, we knew. We saw him pick up a Zonai charge from one of the Zonai constructs. So not only were they skilled architects with magic, they could also engineer robotic creatures, probably using the magic. Those Zonai charges are probably magical properties, and I'm actually really interested to see what they can do when you combine them with other things. That said, we do know that the Zonai were responsible for imprisoning Ganon. The arm that is holding on to him has the same kind of markings that you can see on Zonai structures from Breath of the Wild, the constructs that you can see in the sky. It all looks the same. But the question, of course, is why were the Zonai charged with holding Ganondorf? And why are they gone now? Possible theories include they might have been worshipping Ganondorf, and that's why they held him down there, was to keep him alive after whatever hero did the final damaging blow. I'm guessing Twilight Princess because it's right on his chest where the sword pierced him. I have a hard time buying into the theory that they once worshipped Ganondorf, mainly because they helped construct labyrinths to help the hero, but that's just me. But for now, until the game comes out, that's really all we know about the Zonai up to this point, without getting too much into theories. But now, it's time for the theory. Among those living in the light, interlopers who excelled at magic appeared. Wielding powerful sorcery, they tried to establish dominion over the sacred realm. It was then that the goddess ordered us three light spirits to intervene. We sealed away the great magic those individuals had mastered. This, of course, was spoken of by the great light spirit Lanairu in Twilight Princess. And it's speaking of the origins of the Twilight. The Twilight are a race of beings that cannot stand in the light without perishing. They reside in the Twilight Realm and are governed by a princess named Midna. At one point in time, her throne was usurped by Zant. But we're not really here to talk about that. To really get into this theory, we need to talk about the Hyrulean Civil War. Before the forming of the United Kingdom of Hyrule, which consists of the Zora, the Gorons, all the united races, there was a great war in Hyrule. Now, if you know anything about the timeline, you know that after Skyward Sword came the Minish Cap. And in the Minish Cap, there is a kind of proto-Hyrule. Very small, not a lot of people, not a lot of races, just mostly Hyruleans. But as Hyrule needed to expand, they also needed to include more. And right before the story of Ocarina of Time, that's when these interlopers who became the Twilight appeared. We know a few things about these interlopers. First, we know that they were strong magic users. They created the Fused Shadow, which is a great and terrible mask of power that had to be sealed away in different temples across Hyrule. We also know that they knew about the Triforce, and actually came closer to almost anyone besides Ganondorf on claiming it for themselves and taking over the Sacred Realm. After that, the goddesses interceded, took away their power, and banished them to the Twilight Realm. After they disappeared, the Kingdom of Hyrule was formally organized under the king shortly before the events of Ocarina of Time. This pretty much fits all the criteria we need to equate them to the interlopers and eventually to the Twilight. They both existed in Hyrule anciently, but now they have completely vanished. Both tribes were known to be strong users of magic, and the people of Hyrule call the Zonai barbaric. A similar designation probably would have been given to the tribe that had to be sealed away due to how evil they were. Both tribes are known to use war paint or tattoos, and in kind of the same color scheme, like a grayish-bluish kind of color. And the biggest thing is their connection to the Triforce. They knew about it. They knew what it meant. They knew its history. They knew the symbolism behind each piece of the Triforce. So using all this, the story of the Zonai could go as follows. Thousands and thousands of years ago, the Zonai, a tribe of people who were known for being barbaric and savage, mastered the arts of magic, created things like the Fused Shadow, the labyrinths, and for a time they were not considered evil by their contemporaries. The Sheikah may have even worked with them on creating the labyrinths so that they could test the hero, but it's even possible that they didn't tell the Zonai that that's what they were doing. And that's when the Hyrulean Civil War broke out. This pitted all the different tribes against each other in a battle for the Triforce, a battle that the Zonai had an upper hand in. And that's when, right at the peak of their power, the goddesses intervened and commanded the light spirits to take their power away from them. Shortly following that, they were banished to the Twilight Realm, where for thousands of years they devolved into the Twilight. The people of our tribe, a tribe that mastered the arts of magic, were locked away in this world like insects in a cage. In the shadows, we regressed. So much so that we soon knew neither anger nor hatred, nor even the faintest bloom of desire. And all of it was the fault of a useless, do-nothing royal family that had resigned itself to this miserable half-existence. With the Zonai gone and nothing but their ruins left behind to remember them by, they slowly faded away into legend until nobody remembered them. In just a month or two, we are going to discover who they really are. Or they may continue to just be a mystery because Nintendo likes to do that kind of thing. That's our theory for today. If you enjoyed it, please remember to give a like on our video and subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below.